Chapter 1252. Seeing Yi Qinghan relenting, the fourth prince was overjoyed. He continued to attack and promised many benefits. The rich and overbearing fourth prince threw out many promises, hoping that Yi Qinghan would help him seize the throne. Your Highness, I can't see your foundation right now, so I can't immediately promise to help you. After all, if you participate in the fight for the throne, if you lose, you won't even be able to keep your life, so. Yi Qinghan pretended to hesitate and led him to the information. Mr. Zhua, I'll show you our foundation later, including the comparison of forces with the other four princes. I believe that you will definitely choose me. This kind of information is more or less understood by everyone, so I'm not worried about it leaking out. The fourth prince said proudly. Yi Qinghan nodded, accepting the fourth prince's invitation. However, I don't want to expose it at the beginning. Perhaps it can play a key role. I believe that the other princes will definitely express their goodwill. We can work together to defeat the other princes. As for the 18th prince, he really doesn't have any foundation. With just me and Zhu Wuxin, it's impossible for us to turn the tables. However, I hope that when your Highness takes the throne, you can spare his life. After all, he has helped me before. Yi Qinghan said faintly. Clap. The fourth prince clapped his hands and said excitedly, I like people like you who are loyal and loyal. I'm very happy that you can plead for the 18th prince. Don't worry, when I ascend the throne, he will definitely be made a king and become a lord. Then I'll thank your Highness in advance. I'll go back to the 18th prince and appease him. He must be very angry right now. Sigh. Yi Qinghan sighed. His expression was very accurate, as if he hated the fact that the fourth prince didn't fight for the throne. 18th brother doesn't even have a powerful relative, and there are few people in the military who support him. Sigh, I hope that he can come under my command and support me instead of pulling chestnuts out of the fire. The fourth prince looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly, hoping that he could help him persuade Xue Wuhan. I'll do my best. Yi Qinghan bowed and left. In the snow scar courtyard, the divine bird stood on Xue Wu's body smugly, cackling. You're all mortals. I just gave you a few pointers, and the fourth prince and the others thought that you two had a falling out with my master. They're probably fighting over him now. The divine bird did not even know how to write its face anymore. So it was the divine bird who had instructed the siblings and not Yu Fei. Xue Wu loved the divine bird to the extreme. She wished she could take it for herself. Xue Wuhan's face was full of doubt. He looked at the divine bird and was very shocked. This fellow's IQ was not inferior to the prince's trusted advisor. Thank you, divine bird, for your help. I wonder if this will make the other royal brothers let down their guard, Xue Wuhan said excitedly. Gagaga, little princess's acting skills are good. You played that mischievous and petty temperament so well. How could those idiots see through this divine bird's plan? The cheap bird said arrogantly. At this moment, Yi Qinghan stepped into the snow scar courtyard. There were only the siblings and the divine bird in the palace. Hearing the divine bird's arrogant appearance, he knew that it was the divine bird who had offered the plan and not Yu Fei who had taught Xue Wu. He could not help but sneer. Now that the situation has stabilized, the princess will continue to express her dissatisfaction and quarrel with us. Only then will they try harder to fight for me and General Zhu, Yi Qinghan said lightly. Mr. Zhua, will be relying on you. I saw Royal Father last night. He's already terminally ill and is deteriorating very quickly. I heard from Royal Mother that he was still fine a month ago. In just half a month he can't get up. At most, he can delay his life by a year and a half. We don't have much time left. Xue Wuhan looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. Yi Qinghan nodded and said in a low voice, the fourth prince has already prepared to hand over his foundation for me to use as a reference. In the next half a year, we have to overthrow the forces of the four princes one by one and strive to seize the important positions in the hands of our trusted aides. Trusted aides? I don't have many. Even if we overthrow them, we don't have trustworthy and competent people to replace them. Xue Wuhan said helplessly. Yi Qinghan slowly sat down and said lightly, the first step is to overthrow the 9th prince and take control of the imperial guard in the hands of General Zhu. As for the 9th prince's subordinates, I will find people to replace them. Then I'll have to trouble you, Mr. Zhua. At this moment, Xue Wuhan had to trust Yi Qinghan and completely rely on him. Afterwards, Yi Qinghan returned to his courtyard and sat cross-legged on his bed. He used his spiritual power to contact his essence blood clone in the Great Wasteland domain and asked him to send Xianyan Xue, Di Longtian and the others to the Snow Country Divine World. He was preparing to invade the Snow Country Divine World. That night, the sixth prince sent people to invite Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin to the banquet. Zhu Wuxin didn't attend the banquet. Instead, he eagerly tried to understand Yan Ao's lifelong formation that Yi Qinghan had told him. Yi Qinghan went alone. The sixth prince was the one who was truly rich and overbearing. His grandfather controlled the largest financial group. He had bought over dozens of paramount gods, and his relationship with the military was the best. After all, the military was the main source of funds. He was confident that as long as he could buy over people with resources, it wouldn't be a problem. After all, who didn't need resources? In fact, this person was a huge problem. The sixth prince definitely couldn't kill him. He had to make him submit. Yi Qinghan arrived at the sixth prince's residence. The sixth prince had brought 2 paramount gods to welcome him. There was no one else at the banquet. Mr. Zhua, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. I'm very happy to be able to invite you to this banquet. I feel that no one else is qualified to eat at the same table as you, Mr. Zhua. So, it's just the 2 of us today. I hope you don't mind. The sixth prince waved his hand, indicating for the 2 paramount gods to leave. Only the 2 of them were left in the main hall. The rare treasures on the table were priceless. They were all rare treasures. Even paramount gods would fight over them, but the sixth prince actually used them for dinner. Yi Qinghan smiled and said calmly, "This general doesn't like too much noise. It's fine if it's just the 2 of us." "Mister, please take a seat." The sixth prince gestured. "This general wouldn't dare." "Your Highness, please take a seat." Yi Qinghan hurriedly modestly declined. After a while, the sixth prince sat down, and the 2 of them sat across from each other. "Mister, I'm a straightforward person, and I don't like to beat around the bush. So, I'll make my intentions clear. I'd like to ask you to lend me a hand. As long as you're willing to lend me a hand, you can have all the resources and beauties in the world." The sixth prince was very arrogant, and he said confidently, "My grandfather controls the Tianxia financial group. Mr. Zhua, you should know that I can help you find any resources you desire." Yi Qinghan tasted the divine fruit on the table. After a moment of silence, he said calmly, "Actually, the 4 of you are fairly equal in power. If the 3 of you join forces, none of you can guarantee victory. I'd like to see how strong each of you is before I can decide who to help. After all, the danger that comes with seizing the throne is death. There's no room for negotiation." Clap, clap, clap. The sixth prince clapped his hands, and a black-robed young man entered the hall. He handed over a map and a list of names, then left. "Mr. Zhua, please take a look. These are the official powers on the surface. Half of them have already taken sides, but the other half are on both sides. Those who support me are all on this list. I'm sure the other imperial brothers will be able to find it. There's nothing to hide. Take it." Chapter 1253. The sixth prince gave all the information of the empire to Yi Qinghan, which saved him a lot of trouble. The official forces that belonged to the princes were all marked out. Of course, this was only the information that the sixth prince had found out. There were definitely some official forces that he couldn't find out. Yi Qinghan looked at the distribution of the sixth prince's forces. More than a dozen large cities near the sacred city had been taken over by the sixth prince. As long as His Majesty did not leave behind any last words, the sixth prince would be able to take over the sacred city, seize control of the palace, and become the next emperor. There were tens of millions of soldiers in the border army, but none of them had declared their position yet. All of them were under the command of the Snow Border Army's Grand Marshal Xue Qingtian. His attitude was the most important, but he wouldn't risk universal condemnation. It was also the most difficult to get his support. Even without an imperial edict, he would need more than half of the empire's power to support him. Yi Qinghan focused on collecting information from the cities that hadn't declared their position yet. About half of the cities belonged to the government. They obviously didn't want to take the risk. After 3 days, Yi Qinghan obtained information on the 4 princes. After comparing, he found that 60% of the power had been taken over by the 4 princes. The remaining 40% would rather die than declare their position. It was almost impossible to get their support. In 3 days, the left marshal's residence and Juetian residence had been built. With 700 slave soldiers and 3,000 city guards working together, the 2 residences were easily built. Yi Qinghan sat in the left marshal's residence, waiting for the summons. Shui Wuhen had already reported Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's contributions to the emperor. There was a morning court session today, and His Majesty was going to attend. Even if he was seriously injured, he could still attend the morning court session. In the morning, Shui Wuhen personally came to visit with Zhu Wuxin. I've been by my father's side for the past 2 days. The other brothers are supporting their power, but I've been trying to curry favor with my father. They will give you 2 titles and try to take control of the city guards and the imperial guards. Shui Wuhen said excitedly. Yi Qinghan nodded. It was impossible to take control of the imperial guards, but it was still possible to take control of the city guards. However, Yi Qinghan had a flash of inspiration and decided to work with the 4th and 6th princes to take down the 9th prince first. You guys go first. I'll go see the 4th prince and the 6th prince. Yi Qinghan said calmly. With that, Yi Qinghan turned and left. He found the 4th prince and the 6th prince and had them prepare evidence of the imperial guard and the palace guard's inaction over the years. They were to work together to kill one of the princes. The 4th prince and the 6th prince really thought that Yi Qinghan had surrendered, so they didn't think too much about it. They thought that if they could take down the imperial guards and the city guards, it would definitely be a good thing. There were over 100 important officials in the imperial court, and in recent years, many of the city magistrates had been transferred to the Sage City to prepare for the coronation of the crown prince. There were quite a few paramount gods in attendance, all of whom wanted to maximize their profits. The 4th prince and the 6th prince arrived at the imperial court first. Yi Qinghan followed not far behind, neither too fast nor too slow. The huge imperial palace was decorated extravagantly. Yi Qinghan glanced at the imperial palace from the corner of his eye and found that many of the iconic sculptures were from the Great Wilderness Palace. Now that they had been taken over by the Snow Empire's divine realm, he was furious. This was a great humiliation. The emperor's face was pale, and this was after consuming the divine elixir of life. If it weren't for the elixir, he wouldn't even be able to attend the imperial court. Shui Wuhen obviously didn't want the emperor to die early. His wings hadn't been fully formed yet. If the emperor died, he wouldn't have any hope of fighting for the throne. Yi Qinghan looked at the emperor from the corner of his eye and found that he had the aura of the Snow Empire's divine realm master. He should be the purest descendant. His killing intent and desire for revenge grew even stronger. I'll make sure you die with everlasting regret. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. Buzzed it when the morning bell rang. All the officials had already arrived and were lined up in neat rows. Greetings, Your Majesty. All the officials knelt down on one knee and said in unison. Everyone, cough, cough, please rise. I've been tired recently. If you have something to say, say it. If not, you may leave. The emperor coughed dryly, and his face turned even uglier. Your Majesty, I have a memorial. One of the 4th prince's remonstrants stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Speak. The emperor didn't want to stay any longer, but now he had no choice but to stay in the imperial court. Some of the officials in the sacred city are indulging their sons to commit crimes. The imperial guards and the city guards don't care. The people are complaining incessantly. I implore Your Majesty to uphold justice for the people. The remonstrant was full of resentment, as if he couldn't tolerate the officials committing crimes. The imperial court was dead silent. Most of the sons of the officials were arrogant and domineering. The 4th prince actually asked the remonstrant to make a memorial at this time. Was he trying to offend everyone? The 9th prince's face changed as he looked coldly at the 4th prince. Do you have evidence? The emperor asked in a deep voice. Father, I can make the decision. Not only are the sons of the officials committing crimes, but even the sons of the rich and powerful families are causing chaos in the sacred city. However, in order to not offend the forces behind them and to get their support, Ninth Prince ignored all of them, causing the people to complain everywhere. If the Imperial Guards don't uphold justice for the people and only speak for the officials, then what's the use of the Imperial Guards? The Sixth Prince stepped forward and said firmly, Your Majesty, I can testify that the son of the Minister of Revenue bullied the people. The city guards and the Imperial Guards didn't care. I only tried to stop them, but the Imperial Guards arrested us border army soldiers without asking any questions. For the sake of the officials' face, they didn't care whether the border army soldiers were wronged or not. This kind of Imperial Guards has long been rotten. Your Majesty is wise. I implore Your Majesty to reorganize the Imperial Guards. Zhu Wuxin stood up and said straightforwardly, Pumph. The emperor was angry. He hit the dragon throne, and the imperial court shook. Ninth Prince, is this true? The emperor asked coldly. The Ninth Prince didn't expect that the Fourth Prince, the Sixth Prince, and Shui Wuhin would team up to mess with him. Which one of the sons of the officials under them wasn't arrogant and domineering? Was he trying to kill him as well? Father Emperor, your son has been wronged. Most of the Imperial Guards enforced the law impartially, but they encountered some of the sons of the officials. Most of them were loyal to the fourth brother, the sixth brother, and the seventh brother. They used their power to bully others. My subordinates couldn't shake them at all. In the end, the matter was left unsettled. The Ninth Prince angrily accused. Now they are the guilty ones complaining first. Why don't they investigate why the sons of the officials dare to be arrogant and domineering in the sacred city? Cough, cough, the emperor coughed up blood. He was furious. Your Majesty, please calm down. The ministers knelt down and tried to persuade him. Father Emperor, you don't need to be angry. Your son dares to guarantee that I will not tolerate the actions of my subordinates. 3 days ago, the son of the Assistant Minister of Revenue, Li Quan, bullied the common people in the sacred city. I have personally sent him to the Snow Palace for trial. Even the Assistant Minister of Revenue was arrested. Your son has already sent the memorial to the Imperial Palace. Father Emperor, the Ninth Prince is not strict enough. He is unable to control the Imperial Guards, but he still splashes dirty water on us. Father Emperor, the Imperial Guards prison is filled with resentment and killing intent. It can be seen that there are many people who died unjustly. The Ninth Prince will not tolerate it because he is the son of an official. He will do it because he wants to curry favor with some of the officials. I implore Father Emperor to give the position of the commander of the Imperial Guards and the city guards to a just person. The Seventh Prince quickly said. Yi Qinghan smiled but didn't say anything. He coldly watched the four princes fight each other. Chapter 1254. The Fourth Prince, the Sixth Prince, and the Seventh Prince joined forces to pressure the Ninth Prince. They were determined to remove the Ninth Prince from his position as the commander of the Imperial Army and the City Guard Army. After all, this position was not ordinary. Following this, the ministers from all sides joined in the battle. Most of them reported each other. The Fourth Prince and the Sixth Prince were prepared. They revealed that the Ninth Prince had broken the law and killed loyal ministers. Because a second-rank official did not swear loyalty to them, he had died in the Imperial Army prison. This news made the emperor furious. He was almost angered to death. Men, seize Shui Zhongxue and remove him from his position as the commander of the Imperial Army and the City Guard Army. The emperor waved his hand and scolded, I am not dead yet. You have formed a clique for personal gain. Do you want to rebel? Boom. The emperor stood up with the help of a guard beside him. He glared at the many princes and ministers. In an instant, no one dared to say anything. Although my body is severely injured, my soul is not injured to the point that I have lost my mind. You have all fought side by side with me. Back then, you helped me get to the throne. Now that you have chosen sides so early, do you think I am dead? The emperor's face was pale as he asked hoarsely, Your Majesty, please calm down. I am only doing this for the people of the world. I have no intention of forming a clique for personal gain or betrayal. The ministers knelt down and did not dare to say anything else. Xian Luo was an old minister who had followed me since he was young. He was loyal to me. You wrongly killed him in the Imperial Army prison because he did not declare his loyalty for the time being. Do you think I am dead? The emperor looked around and locked his gaze on the 9th prince as he asked hoarsely. I don't dare. I know I was wrong. Father, please have mercy. The 9th prince's face was pale. He knelt on the ground and could only beg for mercy. He did not dare to argue. The 9th prince was originally favored by the emperor. Otherwise, he would not have obtained the position of commander of the Imperial Army and the City Guard Army. Unfortunately, he was defeated in an instant. In fact, it was not that the 9th prince was too weak. If the other 3 princes had joined forces to deal with the other prince, they would have been defeated if they were caught off guard. The emperor slowly sat down. He was exhausted. At the end of his life, he did not want to see the infighting between his sons. Recommend 2 trustworthy people to be the commanders of the City Guard Army and the Imperial Army. I want them to not be bound by their official status. Arrest all those who commit crimes. The emperor said firmly. At this time, everyone wanted to recommend someone they could trust. One after another, they recommended their trusted subordinates. At this moment, Shui Wuhan stood out and bowed, saying, Father, I feel that only those selected from the border army can strictly enforce the law and be impartial. I have a trustworthy subordinate who can become the commander of the Imperial Army. The emperor looked at Shui Wuhan indifferently and asked, Little 18 has grown up and knows how to share my worldly affairs. Tell me about the person you recommend. The 1,000-man commander of the Snow Scar Army, Xian Linshan. He has made great contributions in battle and is definitely qualified to be the commander of the Imperial Army. Shui Wuhan did not recommend Yi Qinghan or Zhu Wuxin. It was obvious that he had begun to suspect them. At this moment, an evil smile flashed through the 4th prince's eyes. He thought to himself, sure enough, the 18th prince doesn't trust Zhu Feng and Zhu Wuxin anymore. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given up Zhu Wuxin. Using someone who doesn't have enough military merits, a border army chiliarch, is definitely impossible to be the commander of the Imperial Army. Sure enough, he is confused. At this time, I might be able to do Zhu Feng and Zhu Wuxin a favor. The 4th prince, the 6th prince, and the 7th prince all wanted to rope in the 2. They all had the same idea. Father, a 1,000-man commander of the border army is not qualified to be the commander of the Imperial Army regardless of military merits or strength. I support the 2 deputy governors of the Snow Scar Army to be the commander of the Imperial Army and the City Guard Army respectively. The 4th prince spoke first. What's wrong with you today? You are actually so modest. Little 18 did not recommend his most powerful subordinate, but 4th did. I can't see through you, the emperor said curiously. Father, I'm not selfish. The Imperial Army and the City Guard Army are related to the sacred city's safety and Father's safety. As a son, how can I disregard Father's safety for my own selfish interests? Generals Zhu Feng and Zhu Wuxin are qualified to be the commander of the Imperial Army regardless of strength or military merits. The 4th prince was very good at talking. That's right. Zhu Wuxin is called the military saint by the border army. Although it is a bit exaggerated, it is enough to see his strength. Especially when he and divine sect Nangong Lan recreated the battle between Yan Ao and Ling Yan. Even though he was outnumbered, his strength can be seen. He is definitely qualified to be the commander of the City Guard Army, the 6th prince immediately said. Father, the Snow Scar Army killed the Amber Army under General Zhu Feng's command. General Zhu Wuxin attacked from the side. The 2 of them worked together to kill the Amber Army. If they are not qualified to be the commander of the Imperial Army and the City Guard Army, who else can? The 7th prince added. Haha, this is the first time I have seen the 3 of you admire someone at the same time. I am curious as to who these 2 generals are. The emperor laughed loudly. His mood was suddenly lifted. Summon Generals Zhu Feng and General Zhu Wuxin to come forward and have an audience with the emperor. The most loyal guard shouted. Tap tap tap, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin stepped forward. Their bodies were ramrod straight, and they looked dignified. The emperor looked at Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin with admiration. He couldn't help but nod. No wonder Old 4, Old 6, and Old 7 all admire you. You are indeed dragons and phoenixes among men. You are worthy of great responsibility. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your praise. Thank you, Your Highnesses, for your praise. I am truly sorry, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin said respectfully as they knelt on one knee. I heard that Generals Wufeng organized a suicide squad to take down the Amber Army and capture the commander of the Amber Army alive? The emperor looked at Yi Qinghan curiously and asked in a dignified manner. It is all thanks to Your Highness' leadership, Your Majesty's benevolence, and the bravery of the border army. Your humble servant is only a vanguard. There is no merit to speak of. Yi Qinghan said humbly. Not bad at all. Little Qijing, why didn't you recommend such talents instead of Xianlingshan? Could it be that Xianlingshan is better than these two? The emperor asked indifferently. Father, these two are great talents in the army. I hope that they can gain some experience in the army before returning to protect the sacred city and ensure father's safety, Xue Wuhan said awkwardly. Since the princes all think that he is worthy of great responsibility, let Generals Wufeng be the commander of the imperial army, and General Zhu be the commander of the city guards. I hope that you will not fear authority. Anyone who makes a mistake will be punished. If the princes break the law, they will be punished the same as the commoners, the emperor said in a low voice. Thank you, Your Majesty. Your humble servant swears to protect the sacred city with his life. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin said as they cupped their fists. The commanders of the two most important legions in the imperial city had been taken by the two of them. They had even eliminated one of the princes who could compete for the position. The three princes were overjoyed. They felt that once Yi Qinghan sided with them, it would be extremely easy for them to crush the other princes. Chapter 12:55. With the official seal in hand, the two of them were promoted several ranks in an instant. The three princes had contributed greatly to Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's promotion. They thought that it was Xue Wuhan who had given them the opportunity to subdue these two demons, but they didn't know that Xue Wuhan had done it on purpose. If Xue Wuhan had recommended the two of them, the three princes would never have agreed to let them become the commanders of the two most important armies in the Holy City. Loosening the reins only to grasp them better. Xue Wuhan was laughing so hard that his stomach hurt. He liked the divine bird more and more. It had woken him up with a single sentence. The divine bird had given the two most important positions to Zhu Wuxin and Yi Qinghan, and the ones who had given them the positions were still feeling smug about it. Yi Qinghan couldn't help but look at Xue Wuhan. He knew that with Xue Wuhan's intelligence, he would never have thought of such a treacherous idea. It was probably the divine bird's doing again. After the court session ended, the emperor quickly left. The ministers all congratulated Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin, wanting to express their goodwill. Some of the ministers who hadn't taken sides were also tempted. With the three princes' protection and His Majesty's love, there would definitely be no problem following the two of them. On the first night, Yi Qinghan prepared to investigate the remnants of the 9th prince's party. However, these people were smarter than ghosts. They had smelled the danger ahead of time. That night, they offered large amounts of resources and wealth to Yi Qinghan to show their loyalty. Yi Qinghan accepted all of it. He symbolically punished these officials in a high-profile manner, ordering them to enforce the family law and strictly control their children. They also had to compensate and apologize to the victims in order to be forgiven. However, some of the officials and rich children didn't want to beg for mercy. They were proud that Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin had just been promoted and didn't dare to act recklessly. Unfortunately, they were disappointed. That night, the residences of the 9th prince's party were all surrounded. The rich and powerful families were all surrounded by the city guards and the imperial guards. Only now did everyone realize just how swift and decisive Yi Qinghan and Heartless were. However, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin were very cautious. They only captured the remnants of the 9th prince's faction and did not touch the people from the other 3 factions. This caused them to lower their guard and feel that if they showed goodwill, they would have a chance to side with them. Therefore, not only did the three princes not make things difficult for the imperial guard and the city guards, they even took the initiative to provide evidence of their crimes. Those who dared to act arrogantly against the imperial army and city guards were all tied up and taken away. However, most of them still chose to submit. 33 city lord mansions, 16 distinguished families, and 6 sects. Only the 2 city lords were arrogant and despotic. They actually wanted to resist, but they were taken down by the imperial guards on the spot. The city lords were detained, and their entire families were thrown into prison. Their crimes were all sent to the Snow Palace and reported to the emperor. They secretly recommended their own people to take up positions in the 2 cities. That night, many families were arrested in succession. Everyone in the holy city was in a state of panic. The 3 princes' families were full of guests, and they were all afraid of being implicated. The 3 princes had a look of understanding on their faces as they comforted the crowd. The 4th prince indifferently said to the leaders and officials of the various factions, "Don't worry, these 2 people were recommended by me. No matter how bad they are, they will still give me face. Didn't you see that the people they arrested were all 9th prince's people? They didn't touch any of our people." At this moment, the 6th prince and the 7th prince did not sleep at all. They were watching Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's performance. Some people were happy, some people were sad. The common people were happy, and the rich and powerful were trembling. That night, the holy city entered a sleepless night. The 9th prince became a cripple in a day. He did not understand why the 3 princes suddenly attacked and killed him. In terms of strength, it was impossible for him to arouse the hostility of the 3 princes. Moreover, he had always been on good terms with the 3 princes. At least on the surface, it was very good. At this moment, the 9th prince was thrown into the cold palace and confined to his own courtyard. He was at a loss. "Your Highness, our faction is finished. After Zhuo Feng and Zhu Wuxin took over, they arrested all of our loyal people and imprisoned them. The rest of the people are also under their names. We have no chance." An old servant said in grief and indignation, his face full of tears. "Zhuo Feng, Zhu Wuxin, this prince was kind enough to entertain you and show you goodwill. How can you be so ruthless? Don't give me a chance, or I will kill you first." The 9th prince was furious. "Your Highness, we can't offend these 2 now. If we want to turn the tables, we need to rely on them." The old servant said hoarsely, "How can we turn the tables? Since these 2 people attacked my people, they have already made their attitude clear. They will not cooperate with me." The 9th prince said in despair, "We can ask the imperial concubine to help. After all, she is in the palace. Maybe she can ask His Majesty for mercy. We will have a chance to take back the imperial guards and the city protection army." The old servant suggested, "You send people to attack Mother." At this point, this prince is not satisfied. The 9th prince's ferocious gaze was extremely terrifying. It was as if he wanted to tear Yi Qinghan apart. That it was almost daybreak. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin joined forces and rushed through hundreds of factions, taking over 1/10 of the holy city's forces. At this time, they were short of manpower. They could not use Shui Wuhan's people, nor could they use the other prince's people. They had to have these people in the palm of their hands. This way, the other princes would not question them and would not know who they were loyal to. In the end, Yi Qinghan transferred a group of people from Cloud City. He transferred Sister Yao, Aunt 13, and the others. Otherwise, they would not have enough people. The 4th prince, the 6th prince, and the 7th prince had also secretly sent 4 of their trusted aides, hoping that Yi Qinghan would insert them into the group. Yi Qinghan had satisfied all of their requests, making them extremely happy. If Yi Qinghan had not agreed to pledge his loyalty, why would he be willing to insert his own people into the group? At this time, the 3 princes could not wait for Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's forces to become stronger. When the time came, they would show an overwhelming advantage and seize the position of crown prince in one fell swoop. At this time, Shui Wuhan did not fight for it. He stayed by the emperor's side day and night. Those who wanted to get close to the emperor and overthrow Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin were secretly stopped by him. He said that he was helping the emperor with the mundane affairs, so that the emperor would not tire himself out. The emperor was very pleased and valued Shui Wuhan more and more. Sometimes, he would give important things to Shui Wuhan to do. Shui Wuhan also began to secretly insert some of his trusted subordinates into important positions. The next day, Yi Qinghan began to meet with those who had not yet expressed their stance. Most people could see that whoever Yi Qinghan supported would be the crown prince. At this time, it was better to choose Yi Qinghan than to choose a prince. Most of the city lords and forces who had not yet taken sides took the initiative to join. In 3 days, there were more than 300 major forces. They occupied 30% of the forces on the surface. In a short time, they became the biggest supporters. The total support of the 3 princes was not more than 60%. Now, the remaining 10% would rather die than take a side. They were careful not to go overboard and bring a fatal disaster to themselves. On the 4th day, Xian Yanxue, Di Longtian, and a dozen other people came from Great Wasteland Domain to Cloud City to wait for Yi Qinghan's orders. Once they arrived, they would truly invade Snow Empire's divine world from the inside. Chapter 1256. Xian Yanxue, Di Longtian, Jiang Jingtian, Li Feng, Nangong Yunlan, and the rest of the true experts were all trustworthy people in the inner sect. Now, they were all rushing to the holy city under the guise of being from Genius Academy. No one could find out anything about them. Yi Qinghan welcomed everyone into his residence. Seeing his brothers coming over, he was in a good mood. I've prepared the resources for all of you. From today onwards, you will begin to cultivate your spiritual divine power. Once you master one method, you will be able to master all other methods. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me immediately. Strive to become a fighting force within 10 days. I need all of you to replace some important positions, Yi Qinghan said seriously. No problem. Everyone was a genius, and there were 18 of them in total. With Yi Qinghan providing them with treasures and resources, the 18 of them quickly entered seclusion. After that, the sacred city entered a period of silence. No one dared to behave atrociously at this time, especially the sons of the officials. They all kept a respectful distance from the imperial guards and the city guards. This was the time for the city guards and the imperial guards to establish their might. It was also the time for Yi Qinghan to seize the credit. No one's face would be of any use. The 4th prince and the others couldn't say anything about it. The 9th prince's remaining supporters were quickly eliminated. All parties entered a state of competition, wanting to win over Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. The imperial concubines, princesses, and princes in the palace began to become active. Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin's combined forces were too powerful, occupying 30% of the forces on the surface. At this time, the princes were somewhat regretful. They had only given Yi Qinghan a chance, but he had taken advantage of it to advance so far. Now, they couldn't suppress him even if they wanted to. If they did, Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin would side with others. Since they couldn't suppress him, they could only follow his will. Unless they had no other choice, the 4th prince, 6th prince, and the others could only endure. Unless they had no other choice, the 3 princes would join forces to suppress Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. Yi Qinghan had never offended the 3 princes and had always been at peace with them. He had given them opportunities, but he had not completely sided with them. This drove the 3 princes crazy. In the left marshal's residence, a number of princes, princesses, infanta, and even kings had come to visit Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't refuse, nor did he cooperate. 3 days after Yi Qinghan eliminated the 9th prince's forces, a favored concubine came to the palace. She was the 9th prince's birth mother, imperial concubine Shui. To become a favored concubine, one had to be a peerless beauty. She was also extremely intelligent and knew how to cater to people. Shui Fei was one of the most outstanding favored concubines. Otherwise, the 9th prince would not have been able to obtain the position of commander-in-chief of the imperial guards and the city guards. Unfortunately, he had done something that the emperor could not tolerate. He had made a big mistake at the wrong time. The emperor was about to die, so he lacked a sense of security. Anyone who made a mistake at this time would be unlucky. Imperial concubine Shui was dressed in a snow-white robe. Her skin was as white as snow, and her figure was curvaceous. She was naturally sculpted and had a bit of baby fat. She looked very young, but there was an enchanting charm in her bones. Her mature aura could drive men crazy. It was not an exaggeration to say that such a woman would become a favored concubine. Imperial concubine Shui wore a veil that covered half of her face, making her look even more mysterious. There was only a maid beside her. Her cultivation was not bad, and she should be a death guard. She held a divine sword in her hand and was very vigilant against anyone. Yi Qinghan was sitting in the courtyard, thinking about his next step. He was preparing to take down the remaining people who had not yet chosen a side. At this time, Imperial concubine Shui was led into the courtyard by the housekeeper. These days, there were too many people who wanted to see Yi Qinghan, and they were either rich or respectable. Therefore, Yi Qinghan informed the steward that as long as someone wanted to see him, they could be brought to the side courtyard without needing to apply. Imperial concubine Shui and the maid stood to the side and did not disturb Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's black hair hung down to his shoulders, covering his handsome face. Imperial concubine Shui looked at Yi Qinghan with surprise. She did not expect the legendary left marshal to be so young and bright. He was like a youth in his 20s, in the prime of his life. Imperial concubine Shui waved her hand, indicating for the maid to leave the courtyard temporarily. The maid hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she chose to leave. There were only 2 people in the courtyard. Yi Qinghan slightly raised his eyes, stood up and bowed slightly. He smiled and said, "I did not know that such a noble person had arrived. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." "You know me?" Imperial concubine Shui asked in surprise. Imperial concubine Shui is a national beauty, a mother of the world. How could this general not know? Yi Qinghan smiled. People say that Left Marshal is a dragon among men, distinguished and elegant, and that his wisdom is comparable to that of a great sage. Seeing you today, this concubine believes it. Imperial concubine Shui took off her veil. Her enchanting face was like that of a fairy. She did not look like someone who had a son. She was clearly a peerless young married woman. Imperial concubine Shui praises me too much. This general is afraid. What instructions does Imperial concubine Shui have for me? Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes as he looked at Imperial concubine Shui and asked in a low voice. This concubine would like to ask Mr. to assist the 9th prince in regaining his throne. If Mr. has any requests, please do not hesitate to state them. This concubine will definitely satisfy them. Imperial concubine Shui firmly said. Imperial concubine Shui must be joking. This general is only a small leader of the Imperial Guard. How could I be qualified to assist a prince in regaining his throne? Not to mention, His Highness the 9th Prince has been confined by His Majesty the Emperor. Yi Qinghan lightly smiled. I can release His Majesty the Emperor's confinement as long as Mr. is willing to help. This concubine feels that the other princes will not be able to withstand a single blow. Imperial concubine Shui took a step forward. A cool breeze blew, and her fragrance was overwhelming. Yi Qinghan shook his head and smiled. Imperial concubine Shui, right now, the world is in a gloomy state. No one has the strength to control fate. With Imperial concubine Shui's intelligence, you should understand that being impatient will not allow you to eat hot tofu. Instead, it will give others an opportunity, right? Then dare I ask, Mr., which prince are you loyal to right now? Imperial concubine Shui slightly frowned and sighed. This general is loyal to His Majesty. Yi Qinghan immediately said. You are indeed a great sage. Your words are flawless. This concubine is even more in awe of Mr. Imperial concubine Shui shook her head. Her bright eyes looked at Yi Qinghan, but she felt like she was looking at flowers in a fog. She could not see through anything. Right now, His Majesty is about to die. We are just a widow and an orphan. Although this concubine is stupid, I know that Mr. is also looking for someone to be loyal to. What will it take for Mr. to help this concubine? Imperial concubine Shui went straight to the point with a bitter smile. You should ask Imperial Concubine Shui this question, not me. How can I answer? Yi Qinghan calmly said. Mister, this concubine can promise that as long as you support Little Nine, in the future, you will be an assistant minister and be bestowed the title of Eternal King. You will be able to take any beauty you want. Imperial Concubine Shui firmly said. See the guest out. Yi Qinghan directly waved his hand, indicating that he did not want to talk anymore. Mr. Fu? Imperial Concubine Shui didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be so resolute. Imperial Concubine, let me say something. I am a bit disappointed that you still can't see the situation clearly. Yi Qinghan shook his head and spoke with disdain. This concubine is stupid, please enlighten me. Imperial Concubine Shui looked at Yi Qinghan and couldn't see what he wanted. There are some things that are not easy to explain. Think about it yourself. Let me remind you that if you want to save your life, you will have to rely on others. Yi Qinghan insipidly said. At most, he would have to have one of them submit. Imperial Concubine Shui's complexion changed. A feeling of humiliation enveloped her entire body. She never thought that Yi Qinghan wouldn't even look at her when she had laid down her bottom line. You still haven't seen the situation clearly. The ninth prince's power is gone. If you had come to me a few days ago, then perhaps there would have been a chance to turn the tables. But now it's too late. Yi Qinghan said with certainty. As long as Mr. is willing to lend me a hand, then I can have His Majesty remove the ban on him. He will still be a favored prince, and he will still have the support of powerful relatives. He will definitely have a better future than the 18th prince. Imperial Concubine Shui rushed over and hugged Yi Qinghan's waist, bitterly begging. She was absolutely unwilling to let go of the throne. Can't you see it? The 4th prince, the 6th prince, and the 7th prince all have the 9th prince's lifeline in their hands. He made a fatal mistake and once ruined a princess's purity. The 3 princes are not certain they can win, but they are also afraid of angering His Majesty to death, so they did not say anything. As long as he can turn the tables, they will fight to the death. At that time, His Majesty and the 9th prince will both die. Your fates will be extremely cruel. Yi Qinghan coldly reminded. What? This unfilial son. Imperial Concubine Shui was shocked. She did not expect the 9th prince to do such a beastly thing. He would not even let his own sister go. Is there no chance? Is there really no chance at all? Imperial Concubine Shui took a few steps back and muttered to herself. Her eyes were filled with despair. Her great future had been cut off by her own son. If you don't want people to know, then don't do it in the first place. Since he dared to do it, then he must have left something behind. Yi Qinghan lightly said, Let me remind you again. That princess and her mother are supporting the 7th prince. If the 7th prince ascends the throne, think about what your fates will be. Yi Qinghan evilly smiled. He turned around and looked at Imperial Concubine Shui's perfect body. His invasive gaze made her feel ashamed and unable to raise her head. Mister, please save us mother and son. This concubine does not ask for the throne, but for a peaceful life. Imperial Concubine Shui directly knelt on the ground and helplessly begged for her life. If you want to keep your life, then the 7th prince cannot ascend the throne. We must remove him from the altar and make him a powerless prince. Yi Qinghan reminded, the 7th prince has a very high position in the army. He has the support of more than 30 army commanders and 6 army commanders. This is a fatal force. This is the information of all the army commanders. Some of them did not do anything wrong, but most of them have committed crimes. His Majesty does not know about them. As for the other princes, they do not dare to say anything because His Majesty will suspect that they want to seize power. As long as you are responsible for eliminating half of them and arrange for my people to enter, this general can guarantee that no matter who ascends the throne in the future, you and your son will be able to enjoy glory and wealth. Imperial Concubine Shui took the information in fear. She knew that her fate was firmly controlled by Yi Qinghan. Just by taking off her clothes today, she would not be able to clear her name. With just me, it is impossible to shake so many army commanders with military merits. Imperial Concubine Shui bitterly smiled. Don't worry, I will send people to support you. In the morning court the day after tomorrow, there will be a large number of ministers who will report those army commanders who have violated the law. Yi Qinghan smiled. That kind of strange smile made people feel cold, as if everything was under his control. If I help Mr. take down the seventh prince, will little Nine still have a chance? Imperial concubine Shui was still thinking about the throne. She looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. It will be very difficult, unless His Majesty does not have time to announce who the crown prince is. At that time, it will be time for the princes to fight for it with their own abilities. Yi Qinghan calmly said. Yi Qinghan did not want a civil war in the Snow Country's divine realm because he needed a powerful Snow Country to invade other worlds and cause internal strife in the 9 worlds. Only then would he have a chance to take revenge. I understand. Imperial concubine Shui was sad and helpless. Yi Qinghan looked at Imperial concubine Shui with an evil smile and said, Imperial concubine Shui is indeed devastatingly beautiful. You are the most favored concubine. His Majesty the Emperor has good taste. But Mr. disdains this dirty body and does not even want to touch it. Imperial concubine Shui bitterly smiled. Yi Qinghan reached out and pulled her over. He faintly smiled and said, Who said I don't want to touch it? It is just that it is not time yet. Looking at your delicate and pitiful appearance, any man would be moved. I am not a saint, nor am I Lu Shahui. How can I not be moved? Yi Qinghan grasped her heart but did not give a definite answer. Imperial concubine Shui had a glimmer of hope. She felt that Yi Qinghan still had a chance to help her. Yi Qinghan played with human nature in the palm of his hand. He was black-bellied, treacherous, and completely vile. Yet no one would find him annoying. As long as Mr. does not dislike it, it is fine. I thought Mr. did not love me because I was old. Now that Mr. has nothing to do, why don't you have a taste of my body? Perhaps you will like it. Imperial concubine Shui took the initiative and reached out to touch Yi Qinghan. Chapter 1258. Within the courtyard, Yi Qinghan pushed away Shui Fei who was kneeling in front of him and lightly said, Go back. We will act today. Within 3 days, I want the 7th prince's forces to collapse. Shui Fei wiped her mouth as if she had swallowed something. She respectfully nodded and said, Mr. Rest assured. I still have some weight in His Majesty's heart. Yi Qinghan nodded. Shui Fei left. Yi Qinghan looked at her back and understood why the imperial concubines were fighting for the throne. When the emperor died, the imperial concubines who stood on the wrong side would be buried with him. At that time, who would be buried with him and who would continue to enjoy life would all depend on a single word from the new emperor. When the new emperor appeared, it would be the bloodiest time. The imperial concubines who stood on the wrong side, or the arrogant and despotic imperial concubines who offended others, would all die. Shui Fei was forced into a dead end. She had no choice but to rely on someone who could sit on the fishing platform. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was that person. She had no other choice. Whether or not he killed the imperial concubines didn't matter. The most important thing was to subvert this power and seize the throne. He had to support a very obedient puppet. As for who the emperor was, Yi Qinghan didn't care at all. He only cared about whether or not he was obedient. After Shui Fei left, Yi Qinghan began to think about who to replace the 7th prince and enter the border army. He even wanted to replace Shui Qingtian. Shui Qingtian was the biggest problem right now. If he could deal with Shui Qingtian, the world would fall into his hands. Supreme God, he lacked a supreme God. A generation of sorcerer, demon god, chaos dragon, Supreme Holy Lands Empyrean Nangong, several figures flashed in Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness. If he wanted to sit in a high position, he needed someone he could trust. This kind of person absolutely couldn't be controlled with restrictions. They were too strong and had their own thoughts. Once restrictions were placed, the result would be the opposite of what he wanted. Yi Qinghan's actions became bigger and bigger, and his taste became more and more ruthless. Finally, he decided to invite the Supreme Holy Lands Empyrean Nangong and the Chaos Dragon to help. That night, Yi Qinghan contacted the fourth and sixth princes to discuss how to take down the seventh prince. At this moment, although the fourth and sixth princes had agreed, they were still wary of Yi Qinghan. With the seventh prince dead, only 2 people were qualified to compete for the throne. At this time, they had to think of a way to make Yi Qinghan side with them. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. At this moment, the seventh prince was silently contacting the people in the military, hoping that they would support him in a high-profile manner so that His Majesty could announce the crown prince. 3 days later, it would be the morning court session. It would definitely be the day when the crown prince would be announced. Time flew by. Over the past 3 days, the frequency of officials moving about had clearly increased. Yi Qinghan had begun to take the initiative to attack and secretly take down those officials who had not expressed their stance. He now controlled 35% of the government's power. As for the military, he had yet to take down a single person. The 10 great generals of the military department controlled all the armies. The most powerful one was the Snow Border Army's commander, Xue Qingtian. The day of the crown prince's coronation was getting closer and closer. Xue Qingtian and the 9 generals all appeared in the sacred city. They didn't want to see anyone, nor did they want to see anyone. However, the 10 generals had a private meeting. We are all from the military department. Naturally, we have to stand together. If we were to divide the empire into 2 groups, the civil officials would take up 70% of the power, while the 10 of us from the military department would take up 30%. Our attitude is very important. Everyone, tell me, who do you want to support? Xue Qingtian, as a prince, had the highest status and was in charge of the Snow Border Army. Naturally, he had the right to speak. At this moment, he sat in the military department and asked in a deep voice. The 9 generals were all peak paramount god experts. They were old and frail, but they were still very strong. The first general, Shui Yang, was a name bestowed by His Majesty. He was in charge of all the armies under the heavens. He had 30 million superior god soldiers and a number of giant gods. His position was second only to Xue Qingtian. Shui Yang had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He had an imposing aura and said in a deep voice, "From the military's point of view, supporting the 7th prince is the best choice. However, from the perspective of the Snow Empire and the God Realm, supporting the 6th prince is the best choice. After all, the 6th prince's grandfather, Jiang Zijuan, is in charge of the largest financial group in the world. With his support, the military department will not lack resources and will continue to prosper. This old man feels that supporting the 4th prince is the best choice. He has deep roots in the holy city and is quite accomplished in governing a country." The 3rd general quickly expressed his opinion. "I support the 18th prince. He has the vanguard marshals Wufeng and the military Saint Zhu Wuxin. If he can control these 2 people, the world will be stable." The 4th general said strongly, "I support the 7th prince. He is from the 9th general and has participated in many battles. I have no reason not to support him." The 9th general said firmly. "Stop." Xue Qingtian frowned and waved his hand to stop the quarrel. "There are only 10 generals in the military department and you have divided yourselves into so many factions. What a joke. What we need to consider is the stability of the Snow Empire and the God Realm. We can't have internal strife. That's why I asked you to come here to discuss and recommend a prince to His Majesty to become the crown prince. I didn't ask you to come here to quarrel." The 9 generals immediately fell silent and waited for Xue Qingtian to continue. "Let me list out the princes who are qualified to become the crown prince. First, the 4th prince has the support of the divine sect. The 6th prince has the support of the financial group. The 7th prince has the foundation of the military. It is natural for him to treat the military well. I have no objections if some of you support him. As for the 18th prince, he has the support of 2 elites, Zhu Feng and Zhu Wuxin. Although he has no relatives, he is also qualified to compete for the crown prince position. However, will Zhu Feng and Zhu Wuxin really support the 18th prince?" Xue Qingtian asked sternly. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, they seemed to have forgotten about Zhu Feng. If he stood on the 4th prince's side, the 4th prince would win for sure. If he stood on the 6th or 7th prince's side, they would also win for sure. However, what did the 18th prince have? If he supported the 18th prince, it would be a competition between the 4 sides. It was hard to say who would win. That is why I said that as long as Zhuofeng is not an idiot, he will not pull chestnuts out of the fire and support the 18th prince. If he does not support the 18th prince, who do you think he will support? Xue Qingtian frowned. The 7th prince? After all, he is also a member of the military. The 9th general said excitedly. If I knew, why would I ask you? So the most important thing now is to ask him who he supports. Or we can recommend 2 people to discuss with him. That way, we won't stand on the wrong side. After all, he has the initiative. If he chooses the wrong person, we can't start a rebellion. Xue Qingtian said helplessly. The generals were all stunned. They thought that the initiative was in their hands. They didn't know that it was in the hands of a sudden Imperial Guard commander. Everyone was silent. They didn't know who to recommend. Let me give you a suggestion. See if it works. Xue Qingtian smiled bitterly. There is no difference between the 7th prince and the 18th prince. If you have to choose between the 2, Zhuofeng and Zhu Wuxin will definitely support the 18th prince. Since they are familiar with each other, the 18th prince has an advantage in terms of feelings and benefits. Therefore, the 7th prince is excluded. As for the 6th prince and the 4th prince, I think he will stand on the 6th prince's side. Because the 4th prince once sent people to kill the 18th prince, it is the same as chasing Zhuofeng. Now, if you agree with my suggestion, I will go find him tonight. Chapter 1259. The 10 commanders discussed and decided on a quota. Xue Qingtian went to the left marshal's mansion alone. Yi Qinghan was so busy with mundane affairs that he didn't have the time to cultivate, so he had no choice but to hand over some of the 7-leaf stars to Di Longtian, Gu Qingyu, and the others. Xue Qingtian stepped into Yi Qinghan's courtyard. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was engrossed in the information, he coughed dryly to attract his attention. Yi Qinghan was rather surprised by Xue Qingtian's arrival. He hurriedly stood up and bowed. This humble one greets Commander Xue. Since Commander Xue has arrived, please let the guards know. This humble one will go and welcome you. We're family. There's no need to be so courteous. You're from the military. I'm very happy that you've come so far. Xue Qingtian smiled. Thank you for your praise, Marshal Xue. I'm humbled. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and bowed slightly. Marshal Xue, please take a seat. Xue Qingtian didn't decline. In his view, Yi Qinghan was just a junior. He was already giving him a lot of face by coming to see him personally. Zhuofeng, I came here today to ask who you are going to support. How about we jointly elect a prince to become the crown prince? Xue Qingtian went straight to the point and did not want to waste time talking nonsense. The temperament of a military commander was so swift and decisive. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He looked at Xue Qingtian in surprise. He didn't expect him to take the initiative to come to him. Who do you want to support, Marshal Xue? Yi Qinghan immediately asked. The 4th prince. He has deep roots in the holy city. He's the oldest and the most mature. I think it'll be good for the world if he becomes the ruler. Xue Qingtian calmly suggested. Yi Qinghan smiled and sat down as well. He shook his head and said, It's good for the world, but it might not be good for us. As the saying goes, a new emperor brings in new courtiers. Once the birds are gone, the bow is put away, and the hounds are cooked once the hares are dead. I'm sure Marshal Yun understands. Xue Qingtian frowned as a trace of understanding appeared in his eyes. However, he did not believe that the 4th prince would do such a thing. Marshal Yun may not believe it, but I do. In order to seize the throne, he even hunted down his own brother. Would he care about soldiers like us? If we die, elites will immediately take our place, but his empire will remain strong forever. Yi Qinghan reminded in a deep voice. Then you mean to recommend the 18th prince? Xue Qingtian seemed to have already seen through it and wanted to confirm it, so he directly asked. Yi Qinghan was silent for a long time and did not answer. Xue Qingtian was curious. He didn't expect that the 18th prince, Xue Wuhan, wasn't the person he was assisting. Who is that? If this old man feels that it is possible, I will recommend it with you. You can rest assured that only you and I know what happened today. If a third person knows, I will die in the streets tomorrow. Xue Qingtian said in a serious tone. Marshal Yun, what do you think of the ninth prince? Yi Qinghan asked softly. What? As far as I know, the ninth prince was defeated by you. Now you want to protect him? What are you thinking? Aren't you afraid that he will take revenge on you in the future? Xue Qingtian asked in surprise. The ninth prince's thinking is moderate. He doesn't like to offend anyone. He doesn't have a mind of his own. If we recommend him as the emperor, they will have to rely on us in the future. As for the military, it is better for us to control it ourselves. You also want to lead the military alone and not be affected by the rumors of other ministers. We will be outside, but we still have to guard against the villains behind us, right? Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Continue. Xue Qingtian said with interest. As for the ninth prince's desire for revenge, he'll kill all of his relatives and only have us as his wings. Naturally, he'll think of us wholeheartedly instead of revenge, Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Only Yi Qinghan dared to think of killing all the relatives of the emperor. He dared to do so because he was confident that after tomorrow, a large number of generals in the military would be replaced and controlled by him. Kill all his relatives and cut off his wings. You mean to say that we should be the assistant ministers and control the general situation of the world? Xue Qingtian wanted to do so, but he didn't dare to do so. In the past, he didn't fight for the throne and didn't dare to fight for it. In this life, he wanted to be the retired emperor. You are a prince, and you control the Snow Realm army. Naturally, you are the most important assistant minister. But I just want to have a place to settle down and be a small commander of the Imperial Guards. Since Marshal Xue is willing to give me face, I will definitely follow your lead in the future. Actually, if 18 becomes the emperor, we can also become the assistant ministers. Xue Qingtian looked at Yi Qinghan's eyes and probed. Actually, he was already tempted. Since Yi Qinghan appeared in the Holy City, the first thing he did was to investigate Xue Qingtian. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so straightforward even if he had made a vow. I am indebted to the 18th prince. I don't want him to become a puppet. Being the peace marquis and having a place to settle down is the best ending for him. Yi Qinghan said with a slight sigh. What an affectionate and righteous person. I am gratified that you can take care of little 18 like this. I want to support a puppet, but I also want to have a place to settle down. I didn't guess your thoughts. Xue Qingtian looked deeply at Yi Qinghan. If what he said was true, then Yi Qinghan didn't have much ambition and only wanted to hand over the political power to him. If what he said was not true, then Yi Qinghan's scheming was too terrifying. I don't want anything else, I just want to cultivate in peace. I beg Marshal Yun to fulfill my wish. When the situation is stable, the Imperial Guards will be returned to you. You are Marshal Yun, I believe you. As for the Imperial Guards, they will be led by Zhu Wuxin. I think you will believe it. Yi Qinghan said firmly. The Imperial Guards will always be yours. You can make the decisions in the Holy City and I can make the decisions outside the city. As long as you want, I will give you all the resources you want. How about it? Xue Qingtian said indifferently. Deal. Yi Qinghan smiled. As long as Xue Qingtian was willing to lend a hand, his future plans would be smooth. Xue Qingtian left, but there was one more person in the courtyard. It was Sister Yao. Aren't you nurturing a tiger by doing this? When the time comes and he turns hostile, it will be the end of us. Sister Yao reminded. I'm just afraid that he won't turn hostile. I hope that he will be arrogant and despotic, not putting the future emperor in his eyes. When the time comes, I will kill the traitors, punish the villains, and clean up the emperor's side. I will take over the Snow Empire and the Divine Realm in a justifiable manner. Yi Qinghan slowly stood up, his domineering aura soaring to the sky, as if an emperor had appeared. Sister Yao was shocked and looked at Yi Qinghan in horror. She found that Yi Qinghan was emitting an evil aura that made people respect and fear him. Follow my plan and give the orders. Slowly erode the power of the various city lords. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Yes, When Sister Yao looked at Yi Qinghan again, there was no trace of the young and inexperienced coldness from before. He was clearly a treacherous villain. He looked harmless, but once he soared into the sky, he would definitely turn into a dragon and control the world. Chapter 1260. The next morning, this might be the last morning court session for the current emperor. His injuries had worsened beyond imagination. This time, he had no choice but to appoint a crown prince. The seventh prince was bursting with confidence. With so many generals jointly recommending him as the crown prince, the emperor would definitely appoint him as the crown prince. At this moment, he brought his own forces, civil and military officials, and entered the palace with his head held high. Yi Qinghan entered the palace in a low-key manner. He walked only with Zhu Wuxin. There was not a single official beside him. It seemed that he was alone and had no support. The emperor's face was gentle, as if he was not angry at all. He sat in the court and looked down at everyone. The calmer he was, the more uneasy the officials felt. If the emperor was angry, it meant that he was just venting his anger. However, if he was so calm, there would be corpses and rivers of blood. The morning bell rang and the officials filed in. "Greetings, Your Majesty. May Your Majesty be in good health," the ministers said in unison. Today, all the ministers in the court were high-ranking officials, lords, princes, and military bigwigs. All of them were present. The morning court would definitely be very lively in the future. "My beloved officials, please rise." The emperor smiled. He seemed to be in a good mood, but his smile made everyone tremble in fear. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Everyone stood up. "My beloved officials, yesterday I received nearly 100 memorials. Most of them were from military commanders and captains. They asked me to appoint the seventh prince as the crown prince. What do you think?" The emperor said lightly. The fourth prince and the sixth prince's faces changed. They did not expect the seventh prince to be so bold as to initiate the attack. "I don't think it's appropriate. Father, you have been in a good mood these days. Your health has improved. There is no need to appoint the crown prince in such a hurry." The fourth prince bowed and said, "I agree." The sixth prince stepped forward and said. The two princes expressed their opinions. The officials standing behind them all advised the emperor not to appoint a crown prince today. 18th prince, what do you think? The emperor smiled faintly and asked hoarsely. "Father, I will follow your orders. Whoever you appoint as the crown prince, I will support him." Shui Wuhan quickly replied. He did not seem to want to fight for the crown prince position. The hall quieted down as everyone looked at Shui Wuhan and the emperor. The emperor was very pleased. After a moment of silence, he turned his gaze to Yi Qinghan and Zhu Wuxin. These past few days, all the ministers and princes had been praising these two people. This made the emperor quite curious about them. He wondered what kind of people could attract so many people to recommend them. Officials were, "Official Zhu, what do you think?" The emperor seemed to be probing as he asked faintly. Yi Qinghan stepped forward, cupped his fists, and bowed. "This humble subject is only a foreign subject. The matter of the crown prince is Your Majesty's family matter. How would I dare to speak rashly?" "That's exactly what I'm thinking." Zhu Wuxin also stepped forward and replied. The emperor looked down at the two of them and said in a deep voice, "Today, I will allow you to express your intentions. I will not be angry. If you have any ideas, feel free to tell me." Zhu Wuxin secretly glanced at Yi Qinghan. He was a cautious person who didn't like to take risks and didn't want to speak too much. Therefore, he hoped that he would be the one to answer. Yi Qinghan stood up straight and cupped his fists. "Since Your Majesty wants to hear my humble opinion, this humble subject will speak the truth. As a soldier, I know that the only person a soldier should be loyal to is Your Majesty, not some prince. Although Your Majesty's health is not good, you can still handle the affairs of the court. These days, so many people in the Ministry of Military have shown their loyalty by following a prince and asking Your Majesty to appoint him as the crown prince. This is clearly an attempt to force the emperor to abdicate. They are no longer loyal to Your Majesty, but to the princes. What's more, Your Majesty is wise and has made his own decision to appoint the crown prince. How can you allow outsiders to influence your decision? What's the difference between their actions and threatening your majesty? Although I am a member of the Ministry of Military, I will never associate myself with those vile people who make their own decisions and threaten your majesty. Now that your majesty's health is not good, I have specially found some divine medicines to prolong your majesty's life, including divine elixir of life, true dragon celestial grass, and immortal water. These are enough to prolong your majesty's life for 30 years. Yi Qinghan spoke righteously and with an imposing manner. His overwhelming righteousness broke through the sky. With a wave of his hand, he mobilized a large number of treasures and divine medicines. These were things that ordinary people couldn't obtain. Even people at the end of their lifespan could preserve their lives, let alone the emperor who was only injured. The ministers were in an uproar and their expressions changed drastically. No one could have imagined that Yi Qinghan would be so forceful. As a member of the Ministry of Military, he actually wanted to force those who petitioned for the appointment of the crown prince to death. Furthermore, he offered up so many treasures that couldn't be found. The emperor would definitely view him as someone who was loyal to the death and had a limitless future. Shui Wuhan and the fourth prince didn't expect Yi Qinghan to do this. They both looked at Yi Qinghan. The emperor suddenly stood up and looked at the true dragon celestial grass, the 2 bottles of divine elixir of life, and the immortal water in Yi Qinghan's hand. His eyes were filled with excitement. No one wanted to die, let alone the emperor. Minister Zhou, this is exactly what I want. I am not dead yet you want to force me to appoint a crown prince. Men, summon the nearly 100 generals and senior commanders to the palace. I want to ask them what their purpose is. The emperor's attitude suddenly changed. He didn't want to take the treasures, but wanted to clean up the mess. The 7th prince's face turned green. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan's attack to be so vicious. He wanted to uproot the 7th prince's army. Moreover, it was a one-time thing. The 7th prince's action just happened to give him this opportunity. Shui Qingtian was also shocked. He didn't expect the 7th prince to do such a foolish thing. The 9th Army's commander's old face changed. Fortunately, he didn't participate in this matter. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Soon, nearly 100 senior commanders, generals, and castellans came to the palace with terrified faces. Boom! The emperor waved his hand and threw more than 100 memorials at them. He coldly asked, "Do you think I am dead? Or do you think I am so weak that I don't even have the ability to decide the crown prince? Do you think everything will be done according to your wishes? Your Majesty, this humble subject doesn't dare." The ministers were terrified. They didn't dare to argue anymore. The more they argued, the angrier the emperor would be. Especially for these people who were about to die, they could do anything. Minister Zhou, how do you think we should deal with this? The emperor now believed in Yi Qinghan without a doubt. How could there be a scam when he offered such a life-saving elixir? Replying to your Majesty, as a subject, we should share your Majesty's burdens and not take advantage of your Majesty's illness to force your Majesty's will and participate in your Majesty's family matters. Everyone should take Commander Snow as an example. He is a prince and also the commander of the Snow Army. He controls the military department, but he is waiting for your Majesty's orders. They just want a new emperor to take the throne and get more benefits. They even want to replace Commander Shui. These traitors should have their entire families executed, but they have followed your Majesty since they were young. Your Majesty is merciful and won't take their lives. Now, they will be stripped of their positions and be confined in the holy city. Perhaps this is the best ending for them. Yi Qinghan bowed and said, "This sentence was very accurate." It praised Commander Shui Qingtian and made him burst with joy. It also gave this group of generals, castellans, and other forces a chance. He didn't offend them but took nearly 100 important positions. It also made the emperor proud. He showed the emperor the style of a benevolent emperor. This made the emperor's heart flutter. The 7th prince was caught unprepared by Yi Qinghan. At this moment, he was stunned and couldn't say anything. Chapter 1261. The 7th prince was truly dumbfounded. Nearly 100 commanders controlled millions of soldiers, and the border army numbered in the hundreds of thousands. With such a request, if the emperor did not have any life-saving medicine, he would definitely choose to compromise. At that time, Xue Qingtian would have to support him in order to avoid civil war. However, Yi Qinghan had extended his life at the most critical moment. This was a supreme treasure that could extend his life for 30 to 50 years without a problem. Why would Yi Qinghan help the emperor to extend his life? Now that he was supporting someone, the benefits he would receive would be far better than following the old emperor. Many people did not understand, including the fourth prince and Xue Wuhan. This time, Yi Qinghan did not attack the seventh prince. He would not come out to look for trouble, otherwise, this matter would definitely implicate him. The emperor directly issued an order to remove the official positions of the group of military bigwigs, take back their official seals, and seize the control seal of their military headquarters. They were grounded in their mansions, and no one was allowed to go out without orders. Left Minister, these positions have been vacated. You came from the army, so you must have a way of identifying people. Recommend some of these positions to me, and I will reappoint according to the list. As for the position of Crown Prince, we will discuss it the next day. The emperor said indifferently, "Thank you, Your Majesty. Tonight, I will test some people loyal to Your Majesty to replace these traitors." Yi Qinghan bowed and replied, "Follow me into the inner palace. I have something to ask you." The emperor got up and dismissed the officials. He beckoned for Yi Qinghan to follow him. Yi Qinghan followed the emperor into the inner palace. There were only maids and a loyal guard supporting him. Yi Qinghan stood on the emperor's left, supporting him. His large hand reached out and felt that the emperor's life force was very little. Without any life-saving medicine, it would be difficult for him to last 10 days. Even with the elixir of life and other medicines, it would at most extend his life by 10 years. Left Minister, perhaps the Supreme Realm Lord took pity on me and sent you to my side at the end of my life. The emperor was extremely weak, but at this moment, his face was filled with gratification. Perhaps it was the final radiance of the setting sun, but at this moment, there was actually some luster. Since I've eaten Your Majesty's meals, I naturally have to share Your Majesty's burdens. Your Majesty doesn't need to take it to heart, Yi Qinghan said respectfully. If all my princes were as agreeable as you, I would not be so tired. The emperor sighed. He waved his hand at the guard beside him and said, "Leave. I have something to ask my beloved minister." The imperial bodyguard bowed and retreated. Only the emperor and Yi Qinghan were left in the large courtyard of the inner palace. "Help me sit down. Let's talk about the future crown prince." In the garden, the emperor was supported by Yi Qinghan to sit at the stone table. Yi Qinghan stood respectfully beside him. "Minister Zhou, in your eyes, which prince is most qualified to be the crown prince?" The emperor looked at Yi Qinghan and asked in a low voice. "Your humble servant does not dare to speak carelessly. I presume that Your Majesty has already made a judgment," Yi Qinghan said hurriedly. "Ah, my beloved minister, there is no need to be restrained. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees more clearly than the person involved. Since I asked you to speak, then speak. I can use this as a reference," the emperor said majestically. Yi Qinghan paused for a moment. He bowed and said, "Then your humble servant will speak carelessly. If my words are wrong, Your Majesty, please do not be angry." The emperor looked at Yi Qinghan and nodded. "In your humble servant's opinion, the ninth prince is suitable to be the crown prince. With Your Majesty's wisdom, the fourth prince is suitable to be the crown prince and also suitable to be Your Majesty. Perhaps this is why your humble servant does not have Your Majesty's foresight," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. "Oh, what do you mean?" The emperor's eyes flashed as he asked curiously. "The fourth prince does things steadily and deeply. He acts decisively and is also very vicious. In order to seize the throne, he is even willing to kill his own brother. When he ascends the throne, he will definitely disregard the kindness and take down all the generals who assist him. Once the birds are gone, the bow is put away, and the hounds are cooked. This is the emperor's technique," Yi Qinghan said gravely. "What did you say? He killed his own brother?" The emperor asked with a frown. "Your Majesty, your humble servant misspoke. I did not mean to maliciously slander the fourth prince. Yi Qinghan hid the meaning in his heart, but no one could tell that he wanted to slander the fourth prince. Speak the truth. I have repeatedly taught you not to kill your own brothers. In order to seize the throne, they actually want to kill their own brothers. What will happen in the future? The emperor said angrily. Yi Qinghan pretended to be helpless and told the emperor the news of the fourth prince sending assassins from hell to kill Shui Wuheng and Shui Wu. This matter had already determined the fourth prince's fate. Your Majesty, there is something that I don't know if I should say. Yi Qinghan hesitated for a while, wanting to say something but stopping. Speak, the emperor ordered firmly. The fourth prince's methods are sufficient, but he has no military achievements. There are also very few people in the military who support him. If he becomes the emperor, he will definitely set off a reign of terror. He will kill the meritorious officials who follow you and replace them with his own trusted subordinates. When that time comes, the vitality of the Snow Empire and the God Realm will definitely be greatly damaged. Your Majesty, please reconsider. Yi Qinghan reminded respectfully. I was confused about this point. Thanks to your reminder, I understand. The emperor nodded slightly, acknowledging Yi Qinghan's prediction. Then continued to analyze the ninth prince. Why is he suitable to be the emperor? The emperor was quite curious. The ninth prince had already been grounded and banished to the cold palace. He did not understand why Yi Qinghan would recommend him to be the emperor. The ninth prince's conduct is moderate and he understands the way of the emperor. Back then, he was also unwilling to offend the other princes. He was apprehensive of your Majesty's orders and was not allowed to kill his own brothers. That was why he showed mercy to those stubborn and mischievous people. It can be seen that he does not revere the law, but your Majesty. As a son, he has done sufficiently well. Your Majesty should not be angry with him. Yi Qinghan explained. After your reminder, that is indeed the case. If he did not listen to me, he could have used the situation to suppress the people of the other princes. I have misunderstood the ninth prince. The emperor nodded repeatedly, but he did not know that this was completely Yi Qinghan's sophistry. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with a faint smile. Toying with the emperor in the palm of his hand seemed to be thinking for the emperor. This emperor's technique was much better than this emperor's. Yi Qinghan smiled. The ninth prince has many advantages. For example, he treats meritorious officials well and understands balance. With him overseeing the sacred city, the snow country and the divine realm may return to your peak in the future. In addition, imperial concubine Shui is the motherly model of the world. When I was outside the palace, I heard that imperial concubine Shui loves the people like her own children. She taught the ninth prince to treat the people of the snow country well and love imperial father. From the ninth prince's performance, imperial concubine Shui's teaching is indeed good. Your Majesty's painstaking efforts were not in vain. When he said this, the little money grubber in Yi Qinghan's bloodline sneered. Yi Qinghan had cuckolded the emperor several times. If the emperor knew about this now, he would probably be angered to death. There was no need to do anything. Then should I appoint the ninth prince as the crown prince? The emperor asked doubtfully. Absolutely not. You know the fourth prince and the sixth prince's character. Now that you have appointed the ninth prince as the crown prince, they will definitely join forces to attack the ninth prince and splash dirty water on him. They will even disregard the face of the imperial family. They will say anything and do anything. Your Majesty's body is weak now. If you are angered to death, it will not be good. For now, you should quietly recuperate and put aside the political affairs. Who knows, your injuries might be completely eradicated. Yi Qinghan quickly reminded. Then I will leave a decree for you. I will cultivate in peace. From today onwards, you will be an assistant minister and help me deal with political affairs. In the future, you will assist the ninth prince. Do you understand? The emperor said in a deep voice. Chapter 1262. Yi Qinghan left the palace. The fourth prince, the sixth prince, Shui Wuhen, Shui Qingtian, and Zhu Wuxin were all waiting outside the palace, eager to know the result. As soon as Yi Qinghan stepped out of the palace, a group of people immediately gathered around him. What did father say? Shui Wuhan asked excitedly. The fourth prince and the sixth prince also looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly. Only Shui Qingtian remained silent. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. Indeed, the older the ginger, the spicier it is. His Majesty only asked who is suitable to be the crown prince. As a foreign minister, I dare not speak nonsense. His Majesty must have made his own decision. However, he asked me to recommend an assistant minister. Marshal Shui has the most seniority and is the most suitable. I recommend you. In the future, Marshal Shui will have to work harder to handle court affairs with me. Yi Qinghan expressed his goodwill. Shui Qingtian was immediately happy. So he was the one who benefited the most. I am indebted to Marshal Shui's favor. It is my honor to be able to share His Majesty's burden. Shui Qingtian took a deep breath. His face was full of glory. He could no longer suppress the joy in his heart. I am only speaking the truth. I will not speak nonsense. Yi Qinghan said seriously. Then I will take my leave first. See you in court in 3 days. Shui Qingtian smiled. Shui Qingtian left, but the three princes were unwilling to leave. Yi Qinghan still had not expressed his support for the crown prince. This made them restless. Shui Wuhan was fine. He thought that Yi Qinghan would definitely support him. However, he did not know that he had been abandoned. Perhaps Yi Qinghan really did not want him to be a puppet. Sir, I will look for you tonight. I hope we can have a chat. The fourth prince and the sixth prince transmitted their voices at the same time. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and left the palace. In the seventh prince's palace. The seventh prince was about to go crazy. The crown prince position was in his hands. Not only did he not get it, but he was also checkmated. He lost all his foundation and only his relatives were left. The military no longer had any support and became a laughingstock. That damn Zhuofeng. You've ruined my plans. The seventh prince was burning with rage. He flipped tables and broke chairs in the hall, as if killing Yi Qinghan was not enough to vent his anger. Now that we've lost the support of the military, we're only left with our relatives. I'm afraid we can only rely on His Majesty. Now that His Majesty has obtained a life-saving elixir, he will definitely recuperate for a period of time. We need to recuperate. Your Highness, please don't be angry. Yi Xiaofan, the seventh prince's guest minister, reminded in a deep voice. I'm going to see old Ninth. I don't believe that we can't kill a foreign official with our combined strength. The seventh prince was flustered and exasperated. He wanted to make a move in advance, but he didn't know that the reason Yi Qinghan didn't make a move on him was to let him act out of desperation. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was in his own residence, plotting step by step. Each plan was connected to the next, and it was a sinister and vicious plan. He could kill the ninth prince's relatives without letting imperial concubine Shui say anything, and the ninth prince would still owe him a debt. Thus, he had to let the ninth prince use the power of his relatives to kill him. As long as he had an excuse, he wouldn't need to do anything. That old fox Shui Qingtian would naturally do him a favor. This was the reason why Yi Qinghan didn't make a move on the seventh prince. With the seventh prince and the ninth prince working together, the ninth prince would do anything to take revenge. Killing people without leaving a trace, borrowing a knife to do the dirty work. There was another plan within the plan, and he played the mind game to the extreme. Yi Qinghan mobilized a large number of trustworthy people to the military to replace the seventh prince's forces. This included the people from the inner sect, as well as the sorcerer god, the demon god, the chaos dragon, and the supreme heavenly venerate. Nearly 100 commanders from the military became Yi Qinghan's men and gradually invaded. Night fell, and the residence was empty. Everyone who could be used had been sent out. Only Sister Yao remained in the residence to take care of its operations. The fourth prince quietly approached and appeared in Yi Qinghan's courtyard. The fourth prince stared intently at Yi Qinghan and asked in a deep voice, "Mister, what do you mean by this?" Yi Qinghan slightly raised his head and smiled. "Your Highness, we've already come this far. Do you still not understand what this lowly one is thinking? The ninth prince, the seventh prince, and then the sixth prince. Aside from them, who else has the qualifications to compete with you for the position of crown prince? Could it be the 18th prince? He doesn't have any relatives or officials to support him. This Sikh can't possibly fight with you for him, right? Who? Hearing Yi Qinghan's explanation, the fourth prince finally let out a sigh of relief and a smile appeared on his face. I am indebted to Mr.'s support. Once this prince ascends to the throne, you will definitely be the most respected minister. The fourth prince said excitedly. Your Highness, this lowly one is assisting you because you are worthy of my assistance. It's fine as long as you don't cook the hounds after they've outlived their usefulness, Yi Qinghan said solemnly. Mister, what are you saying? In the future, you will definitely be second only to one person and above all others, the fourth prince vowed solemnly. Yi Qinghan groaned inwardly and his expression immediately changed. He hurriedly said, The sixth prince is here. Do you want to meet him? No need. This prince will leave first. In 3 days I will attack the sixth prince. I hope Mr. will cooperate. The fourth prince finished speaking and left in a flash. Yi Qinghan spread out his divine sense and found that the fourth prince had indeed left. He quietly waited for the sixth prince. The sixth prince quickly entered the courtyard and bowed respectfully. This prince came uninvited. Please don't blame Mr. This lowly one already understands the purpose of your Highness' visit. In 3 days, you and I will work together to slowly remove the problematic officials under the fourth prince. However, he will definitely retaliate and even take the initiative to attack. When the time comes, I will pretend to treat everyone equally. You will have to cooperate with me, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. When the sixth prince saw Yi Qinghan attack the fourth prince, how could he still have any doubts? Right now, the only ones who could fight for the throne were him and the fourth prince. The 18th prince had no power at all, while his relatives were deeply rooted. Yi Qinghan had no chance of defeating them. The position of crown prince would definitely be his. The sixth prince suddenly smiled. Don't worry, mister. I have been waiting for this day for a long time, the sixth prince said excitedly. When the time comes, you should prepare new people to replace your old subordinates. After all, their subordinates are not clean. If I am too partial to one person, it will be difficult for me to explain it to His Majesty, right? Yi Qinghan said lightly. I will definitely not make things difficult for Mr. The sixth prince said confidently. Don't expose your weakness. Just treat it as if you are fighting alone. I will not participate in the fight for the throne. Only by standing in a fair position can I be qualified to be an assistant minister, Yi Qinghan reminded him. The sixth prince received a satisfactory answer and immediately retreated to prepare for the fight for the throne. Soon after, Shui concubine appeared alone in the courtyard. I heard that Mr. was very impressive today. You directly took down the seventh prince. You have become an assistant minister. This concubine is here to celebrate. Shui concubine's face was full of charm. Seeing Yi Qinghan sitting in his room reading in the middle of the night, she directly knelt in front of him like a lowly slave. Who would have thought that Shui concubine, the motherly model of the world, would kneel in front of Yi Qinghan like an obedient little bitch? Yi Qinghan directly threw the imperial edict out. Shui concubine picked it up and looked at it. Her body trembled with excitement. Chapter 1263. Imperial concubine Shui was completely stunned and excited. She never thought that Yi Qinghan would actually make His Majesty crown prince, and that the crown prince would be the ninth prince, who was under house arrest. This concubine knew that there was nothing Mr. couldn't do. Imperial concubine Shui said excitedly as she lay on Yi Qinghan's legs. Imperial concubine Shui was instantly transformed from a high and mighty imperial concubine to a slave kneeling on the ground. She did not feel embarrassed at all. Instead, she felt very excited and excited. She completely submitted to Yi Qinghan and did not have any thoughts of resistance. She did not dare to resist because Yi Qinghan's scheme was far beyond what she could imagine. I'm showing you this imperial edict to make you feel better. From today onwards, you are not allowed to see His Highness the Ninth Prince, and you are not allowed to let him know of the existence of this imperial edict. If you tell anyone else, this imperial edict will become invalid. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan said coldly. Imperial concubine Shui did her best to please Yi Qinghan. She nodded repeatedly, and her hands involuntarily stroked his body. Now that the 7th prince has fallen, he will definitely join forces with the 9th prince to take revenge. Only when the 9th prince takes revenge will others not think that I'm helping him. If he doesn't take revenge and instead happily waits at home, our operation will be exposed, and half of our plan will fail. Yi Qinghan allowed Imperial concubine Shui to do her best to please him. He spread out the most comfortable position and enjoyed her hard work. Seeing the high and mighty Imperial concubine doing her best to please him, he felt an inexplicable excitement in his heart. Damn, I've played so much that I've become a pervert. Yi Qinghan cursed inwardly. He also felt that he had become a pervert. However, he was very happy to enjoy this kind of revenge, and the process was very enjoyable. It was already late at night, and there was only a muffled sound in the room. There was no one else. Yi Qinghan began to take the initiative to counterattack. He cultivated the yin-yang secret technique and seized the yin essence to break through to the supreme god realm. Imperial concubine Shui's ice essence was completely hollowed out, and then it formed a large cycle and returned to her body. She panted repeatedly. The next morning, Imperial concubine Shui left with a red face. The Imperial army was now under Yi Qinghan's control, and the commanders had been replaced by his subordinate Kiliarchs. Imperial concubine Shui returned to the palace late at night, and no one would know about it. Yi Qinghan was sitting on the edge of the bed. The sky-dividing divine art was quickly activated, his soul split in two, and slowly, it was transforming it into a human's was. Bloodline, soul, body, everything was absorbing. Time flew by, and the life fluctuations of the doppelganger grew stronger and stronger. It was almost the same as the main body. Was bloods and blood. Loss. Ly was, it. Yi was, it. Was. And body. Had the same soul, and was. Who? Dealing with the mortal world was a waste of time. Yi Qinghan had no time to cultivate. Now that his clone had gone to the great desolate world to cultivate the great desolate Tao scripture, it was like having another Yi Qinghan to cultivate every day. He didn't have to worry about the outside world. Master's combat strength and realm have decreased. Is this cultivation technique worth it? Sister Yao asked curiously. Yi Qinghan slightly opened his eyes. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was seriously lacking in blood. His life force had been greatly weakened. I can make up for the loss of blood and life force. But if I lose time, I can't get it back. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse as he spoke. I am slow-witted. Sister Yao bowed. When she looked at Yi Qinghan again, it was like looking at flowers in a fog. She couldn't see through him. Yi Qinghan drank some divine milk of life to replenish his life force. The fatigue in his eyes disappeared. His current combat strength was only at the peak of the giant god realm. However, his combat strength was still comparable to a peak giant god. In the imperial palace, today was the first day for the assistant ministers. The ministers came especially early. Only Yi Qinghan was absent. Even when the morning bell rang, Yi Qinghan still didn't appear. Shui Qingtian was wearing a prince's jade robe. Heavenly dragons danced in the air. His aura was overwhelming. It was as if he had ascended to the throne. His Majesty's body is unwell. Today is the first day for this king to assist in politics. Lord Left Marshal has not slept for the past few days. Today, he came a little late. Everyone, please excuse me. Shui Qingtian enjoyed the feeling of being worshipped by the ministers. At this moment, he looked down at everyone and said in a serious voice, Everyone, the Snow Empire and the God Realm need your support to be stable. I hope everyone will think of the common people and not have any petty thoughts. Otherwise, this king and Lord Left Marshal will not forgive him. We will follow Lord Prince's instructions. The ministers replied in unison. They still respected Shui Qingtian's status as an assistant minister. After all, he was a prince, and also a commander of the Snow Empire army. Who would dare to not give him face? However, Yi Qinghan was different. He had just appeared and received His Majesty's favor. He had seized some control of the military. Even the commanders had opinions about him. As an assistant minister, Zhuo Feng didn't come on the first day of the morning court. He clearly doesn't put us in his eyes. Marshal Shui, you must uphold justice for the world. The commander of the 9th Army said angrily. That's right. This person is arrogant and despotic. Relying on His Majesty's favor, he has been overturning rivers and seas in the sacred city these past few days. He doesn't put the dignity of the ministers in his eyes. If he wants to capture him, he will arrest him, and if he wants to confine him, he will confine him. Marshal Shui, you must uphold justice for us. Taking advantage of Yi Qinghan's absence, the commander of the 9th Army suggested. Many of the ministers under the 7th Prince started to make things difficult. They wanted to remove Yi Qinghan from his position as an assistant minister. Shui Qingtian frowned. He had no interest in becoming enemies with Yi Qinghan. In the future, when His Majesty abdicates, the sacred city will belong to Yi Qinghan. Everything outside the sacred city will belong to him. This was already set in stone. He wouldn't be so stupid as to add more variables for some people. The crowd in the court rose to attack. There was a lot of discussion and it was a mess. In addition, with the commander in charge, they weren't afraid of Yi Qinghan. At this moment, a figure appeared in the court. He was majestic. His 7 feet tall body was filled with the aura of a king. His black hair was as black as ink, fluttering without wind. His armor swayed gently. He held the Jade Emperor sword in his hand. It was the divine sword bestowed by His Majesty. Wherever it passed, it represented the arrival of the emperor. Yi Qinghan stepped onto the top of the court. He stood in front of the throne and looked down at everyone. His cold eyes made everyone tremble. It seems that some people are dissatisfied with me as an assistant minister. However, I am a democratic person. Everyone's opinion is the most important. If you are dissatisfied with me, you can say it. Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice echoed in the court and didn't dissipate for a long time. The court was dead silent. Everyone, including the 4th Prince, was stunned by Yi Qinghan's aura. It was as if he was the emperor, the real emperor. Yu Fei helplessly waved her hand, ordering the guests to leave. At this time, fate was no longer in her own hands, so there was no point in saying anything more. Mr. Zhuo, why did you make such a decision? This prince has treated you well. Shui Wuhan sat on the stone stool dispiritedly. His whole body was sore and powerless. He wanted to ask, but he didn't have the courage to do so. Brother Zhuo Feng, are you going to give up on us? Shui Wu was also in a panic. She felt incredible. The great image of Yi Qinghan in her heart collapsed in an instant, which made her a little unbearable. This lowly one guarantees that no matter who becomes His Majesty, I will protect you with my life. I will definitely not allow Her Highness and His Highness to suffer any grievances. Yi Qinghan bowed and slowly withdrew from the palace. As soon as Yi Qinghan left, some maids and eunuchs who wanted to ride on his coattails found excuses to leave the imperial palace. Some rushed to the mansion of the 4th Prince, and some entered the mansion of the 6th Prince. In the mansion of the 4th Prince, the 4th Prince looked at the concubine next to concubine Yu in the inner palace and said lightly, "Are you sure that Mr. Zhuo said that my 18th brother had no chance to be the crown prince?" "Your Highness, I heard it clearly." Concubine Yu ordered the guests to leave in public. The maid knelt respectfully in the hall, not daring to look up. Good. Come, reward him with a piece of snow step immortal stone and 300 pieces of profound step immortal stones. The 4th Prince laughed, and a stone in his heart finally fell down. His only worry now was that Yi Qinghan would suddenly turn to the 18th Prince in the end. Now that he had made it clear, he didn't have to worry about that stumbling block. The 6th Prince was the same. He was so excited that he thought that he could succeed by getting rid of the 4th Prince. At this time, who would have thought that Yi Qinghan's goal was to assist the 9th Prince? Yi Qinghan's move reassured the hearts of the 2 most powerful princes and reduced their doubts. The following brothers' game was the biggest highlight. Back to the Zhuo marshal's mansion, Yi Qinghan directly closed the door to cultivate. He closed the door and no longer saw guests. Only Sister Yao was left outside the courtyard. The Zhuo marshal's mansion was now as crowded as a marketplace. Many officials came to give gifts and pledge their loyalty, hoping to get the vacant position today. There were also some commoners who came to recommend themselves, hoping to be promoted. Sister Yao was quite good at judging people. She accepted the gifts from the officials without any hesitation, but she didn't promise them anything. As for the commoners, if they were talented, she would keep them. Over the past few days, she had recruited quite a number of elites. The identity of these commoners had been investigated. Sister Yao could decide to place them in a certain position. As for the most important position, it was naturally up to Yi Qinghan to decide. At this moment, Yi Qinghan once again consumed the supreme saint medicine to replenish his blood, qi, and vitality. Large amounts of resources and snow-step divine stones were poured into his body as if they were free. Meanwhile, the 6th and 4th princes were desperately sending resources to the Zhuo marshal's mansion in order to completely take down Yi Qinghan. With resources, what Yi Qinghan lacked now was time. That was why he helped the emperor prolong his life. With that kind of injury, even the best saint medicine was useless. At most, it could only prolong his life. In order to preserve his life, the emperor had no choice but to go into seclusion to cultivate. If he didn't have the saint medicine, perhaps he wouldn't be so desperate to preserve his life. Once there was a chance, who would give up their life? As long as the emperor didn't die, Yi Qinghan would assist him. The current situation was what he wanted. At night, Sister Yao sent the name list of those who came to visit Yi Qinghan's room. Yi Qinghan looked at the name list and circled it for a while. He said indifferently, "The ones crossed out are the 6th prince's men. The ones circled are the 4th prince's men. The rest is up to you." Master. Sister Yao felt a chill run down her spine. She felt that the entire holy city was under Yi Qinghan's control. Nothing could escape his eyes. After a moment of silence, Sister Yao looked at Yi Qinghan and asked in a low voice, "Master, there's still something that I don't understand. I've been restless these past few days, and I wish to clarify it." "Ask away." Yi Qinghan put down the report in his hand and said indifferently, "Why are you helping the emperor prolong his life? If his injuries recover and he can take over the throne, wouldn't everything you've done go down the drain?" Sister Yao asked curiously. "If I want him to die at midnight, he won't be able to live until dawn," Yi Qinghan replied confidently. Sister Yao's lips twitched. At this moment, she looked at Yi Qinghan with shock and fear in her heart. This kind of person was too frightening. Was there anything in the world that he couldn't kill the emperor? What was he planning to do? Be at ease and follow me. This half of Snow Country's divine realm is yours. My ambitions lie elsewhere, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Chapter 1266. The holy city was not peaceful, but it was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. At night, the 7th prince and 9th prince jointly invited Yi Qinghan and sent him an invitation. This was a true hongmen banquet. Everyone could see the 7th prince and 9th prince's goal, but the prince invited him in the name of government affairs. As an assistant minister, Yi Qinghan could not even find a reason to refuse. "Master, you cannot attend this banquet." Sister Yao tried her best to stop Yi Qinghan from attending the banquet alone. Yi Qinghan smiled and said indifferently, "If I don't attend the banquet, how will they have the chance to make a move? But it's too dangerous. You know they want to harm you, so why take the risk?" Sister Yao said with a frown. "Nothing ventured, nothing gained. This is the most important part of my plan. We have to get rid of the 9th prince's relatives." Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. "But they might not be willing to use their relatives to attack you. They can find assassins." Sister Yao explained bitterly, still unwilling to let Yi Qinghan attend the banquet alone. "Fool, the 9th prince is grounded and cannot see concubine Shui, so he can only ask for help from his relatives. The 9th prince's relatives are in close contact with hell, and the 7th prince is very familiar with heaven's assassins. Tonight will be very lively. With 2 major assassin organizations gathered, there will definitely be a storm. As long as I can catch a living assassin from hell, I can pry open their teeth and have them bite back at the ninth prince's relatives. Yi Qinghan shook his head and left. The streets were crowded with people, bustling with activity. The high officials and nobles did not dare to be arrogant anymore and kept a low profile when they went out, only bringing a few attendants with them. The holy city at night was a city that never slept. It would not rest until dawn. Lanterns were hung high, and the streets were filled with people. The young masters and young mistresses of the wealthy families took out divine stones to play and by some divine medicine to cultivate. Most of their cultivation was below the giant god realm, and their battle strength was even worse. Yi Qinghan kept a low profile as he walked down the street. He had changed into a simple set of clothes and restrained his aura. He was just slightly more handsome than a passerby. He rarely went out, so there were not many people who knew him. It was already late at night, and most of the people were quickly dispersing. However, there were still some young masters wandering outside with beautiful women. The holy city's fragrance pavilion was still as crowded as a marketplace, with hundreds of flowers blooming. Yi Qinghan entered the fragrance pavilion and was led to the third floor. The seventh prince and ninth prince were both in a private room. Outside the room, there were several strong cultivators guarding it. They were much easier to get along with compared to the gloomy fourth prince. "This wine is not bad. I really like it," Yi Qinghan said honestly. "It's good that you like it. This wine is made from the body of the world's most venomous snake, the god's 7 steps. It was soaked in the essence blood of countless divine beasts and the virgin blood of female cultivators for 300 years. 1 or 2 bottles of 7 steps intoxication is worth tens of thousands of divine stones. This prince spent a lot of money to obtain 2 jars. One for each of us brothers and the other for Sir. Today, we will not leave until we are drunk. I hope Sir will enjoy." The 7th prince said straightforwardly. "Then this little brother will bask in Sir's glory today and enjoy this 7 steps intoxication." The 9th prince seemed to really like this wine. His eyes were shining. The fragrance pavilion's beauties poured half a bowl of wine for the 2 of them. As for Yi Qinghan's beauties, they filled their bowls to the brim. The smell of the wine soared to the heavens. Just a whiff of it was enough to make one feel heroic and domineering. Yi Qinghan did not stand on ceremony. He deliberately gave the 2 of them a chance to drink a second bowl of 7 steps intoxication with the 7th prince and the 9th prince. Boom, boom, boom. His blood and chi swelled and surged. He was full of blood and chi, and he vaguely broke through the limits of the giant god realm once more. The blood and chi he had lost could actually be replenished by a jar of wine. However, his brain had been burned to the point of almost losing consciousness. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He was somewhat excited and grateful to the 7th prince. If not for the fact that he was too strong and could not be a puppet, he would have been willing to support him as the crown prince. Unfortunately, those who blocked Yi Qinghan's path could only be passers-by, or even enemies. After 3 rounds of wine, the 3 of them were red in the face. Their faces were burning, and they couldn't even speak clearly. However, the 7th prince still hadn't forgotten his goal today. "Sir, did you enjoy drinking it?" asked the 7th prince. "I enjoyed it. Thank you for your hospitality, Your Highness. This 7 steps intoxication is simply a divine brew. For me to drink it like this is truly a waste." Yi Qinghan spoke the truth. That was because this jar of wine had completely restored his blood and chi. His realm had also returned to the limits of the giant god realm. Although he was still a bit off from his peak, there was still some wine left. "They wanted to kill you and frame me so that Her Majesty would come out of seclusion and remove me from my position," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The 7th and 9th princes' faces were ashen. They never thought that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. They had wanted to assassinate Yi Qinghan, but they had almost been assassinated by someone else instead. "Thank you for saving my life, sir." The 7th prince's handsome appearance had completely lost its color, and the 9th prince was paralyzed in his seat, unable to move at all. "I did it for the sake of my innocence. Your Highness, you don't have to be so polite." Yi Qinghan shook his head. His eyes were solemn. This assassination attempt was unexpected. He never thought that there would be someone else besides these two who wanted to kill him, who would have the ability to hide assassins in the Fragrance Pavilion. After hiding for so long, they committed suicide after failing the mission. Such an organization was probably no weaker than the two major assassin organizations. Yi Qinghan secretly pondered, but he couldn't find any clues. Even the seventh prince was baffled, let alone the ninth prince. The room was in a mess. The guards outside rushed in one after another. When they saw the maids lying on the floor, their expressions changed. "It's fine. Get out," the seventh prince said coldly. The guards immediately left the room. "Sir, it could be anyone who sent these assassins to kill you, but it definitely wasn't us two brothers. Please lend me a hand." The seventh prince stared at Yi Qinghan expectantly. Yi Qinghan's eyes were cold. He hated it when things weren't under his control, but now it had appeared. As for the position of Crown Prince, His Majesty has already made a decision. This humble one cannot change it. Your Highnesses, please be at ease as the Marquis of Peace. Yi Qinghan shook his head, then said, "This humble one is tired and will go back to rest first. I will leave this place to your Highnesses to clean up. If you find out which organization these women belong to, please inform us." After saying this, Yi Qinghan didn't even ask. He picked up the 7 steps drunk and prepared to leave the room. But just as he took a step, his qi and blood surged. The strength of the strong alcohol was unbearable even for a giant god. 7 steps drunk. As the name implied, after taking 7 steps, one would definitely fall into a deep slumber, snoring loudly. Yi Qinghan shook his head. His eyes were a little dazed. He released his divine ice power, and his consciousness became a little clearer. 1 step, 2 steps. After taking 7 steps, Yi Qinghan's footsteps staggered, but he was still able to maintain his consciousness. The 9th prince and 7th prince glanced at each other and allowed him to leave. Midnight had already passed, and the faint lights on the streets flickered. He pulled out an arrow from his shoulder and slowly stood up. "Capture him alive," he said sternly. "Advance. Capture him alive at all costs." Zhu Exen launched an all-out attack and charged toward the center of the battlefield. 10,000 imperial guards and 50,000 city guards began a night battle. All the residences were alarmed. When they learned that Zhu Feng had been attacked and almost killed, they immediately rushed out, hoping to prove their worth and clear their names. The 7th prince and the 9th prince's expressions changed. They felt like they had been tricked. Yi Qinghan wanted to capture them alive to force out the mastermind behind the scenes and completely remove them. Otherwise, why would he put himself in danger? The 4th prince and the 6th prince personally led powerful guards to charge over, but they were blocked by the imperial guards, not allowing them to get close. The commanders of the imperial guards all used their own abilities, hoping to capture a few of the assassins alive and earn merits. If they did not earn merits now, they would not have another chance to earn merits in the future. Boom. The overgods took the risk and used their overgod power. They were not afraid of being punished by the emperor. At most, they would say that they were worried about the Zhu Feng's safety. Presumably, the emperor would not fly into a rage. The assassins were no match for the overgod power. They were immediately imprisoned, unable to move, let alone commit suicide by ingesting poison. Boom boom boom. More than 10 commanders quickly took down half of the assassins. Nearly 1,000 imperial guards surrounded the assassins and killed more than 10 of them in a moment of desperation. A fierce battle came quickly, but it was destroyed even faster. It's over. With so many of them captured alive, there will definitely be people who can't take the punishment and betray us. The 9th prince said in a panic. "Who helped you contact the assassins?" the 7th prince hurriedly asked. "It's my uncle." The 9th prince's body trembled. If his uncle couldn't withstand the vicious punishment and gave him away, then his death would be very miserable. Chapter 1269. Nearly 100 assassins had been annihilated, and some of them were still hiding in the dark. They had been captured before they could make a move. They were indeed Hell's emissary-level assassins. They were also the organizers of this operation. Yi Qinghan's injuries were under control. Under the protection of hundreds of imperial guards, he approached the group of assassins. He looked at the emissary-level assassin and sneered, "Take him back. I will personally interrogate the mastermind behind this." The emissary-level assassin looked at Yi Qinghan's cold eyes and grunted. Although he couldn't commit suicide, he couldn't get any useful information out of him. The soul of a supreme god was not so easy to invade. He couldn't read his memories, so he could only make him speak the truth. Yi Qinghan was confident that he could make the supreme god compromise. The imperial guards escorted the assassins past Fragrance Pavilion. Yi Qinghan raised his head slightly and looked at the two princes. His strange smile made the 7th and 9th princes tremble. Then, the army charged into the imperial prison. Inside the prison, it was gloomy and cold. Resentment soared to the sky and almost condensed. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't know how many people had died here unjustly. Yi Qinghan looked at the emissary-level assassin and slowly sat down. He said calmly, "If you don't want to suffer physical pain, tell me yourself who sent you to kill me. Otherwise, I will waste my time with you today. I believe you will speak in the end." "Impossible. Just kill me so that you won't be angry," the emissary-level assassin said coldly. Yi Qinghan grunted and said in a low voice, "Since you want to play, I will play with you." Swish. Yi Qinghan grabbed a supreme god-level assassin. His fire elemental divine power ignited the assassin's body, but he didn't kill his soul. Instead, he burned his flesh and bones. For a moment, screams filled the prison. The assassin's face was distorted as he screamed. It was terrifying. Yi Qinghan's expression was calm. It was as if the one being tortured in front of him wasn't a human, but an ant. He didn't care about his pain at all. The imperial army shuddered in disgust and took a step back. Only now did they realize that their torture was child's play. Yi Qinghan's cruel torture was practically corroding one's soul. "If you speak, your subordinates will suffer less. If you don't, I'll slowly torture them to death until you speak. Or if they break down and reveal your family's identity, I'll capture your entire family and serve them," Yi Qinghan said calmly. At this moment, the assassin who was captured alive finally understood that it would have been better if he had just died on the streets. Now, he couldn't die even if he wanted to. The flames burned, and his flesh was roasted dry. His soul was distorted and he lost his mind. However, he could still feel the pain. Chapter 1270. The assassin was somewhat frightened by Yi Qinghan's psychological attack and couldn't take it anymore. Among the dozens of assassins, at least 5 of them knew his background, but none of them were willing to speak. How could he give up on them for the sake of face? "It's the 9th prince's uncle, Zhen Zilong." The assassin gritted his teeth and said, "Very good." Yi Qinghan smiled and waved his hand. He said calmly, "Give him a brush and ink. Let him sign. Someone, inform Marshal Yun that he has to testify for me and help me catch the criminals." Yi Qinghan's orders were sent out one by one. The Imperial Army's prison immediately moved. The Imperial Army rushed out in waves. Soon, Marshal Yun, the 4th prince, and the 6th prince all arrived. They were obviously here to show their goodwill. "Sir, you were attacked in the sacred city. These people are really daring. Did you find out who sent them?" The 4th prince asked, pretending to be angry. In fact, he knew better than anyone that the assassins from hell wouldn't betray the person who sent them. "We found out. Now, Marshal Yun and the 2 princes, please be our witnesses and help us catch the real person who sent them," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Marshal Yun and the 2 princes' pupils shrank. They couldn't imagine what kind of punishment Yi Qinghan used to force the assassin to reveal the person who sent them in such a short time. Marshal Yun and the 2 princes quickly entered the prison. They were shocked to see that the assassin wasn't injured at all. However, the other assassins were very weak. "Sir, please tell us who sent them." Yi Qinghan waved his hand and handed the confession to Marshal Yun. "The person who sent them is the 9th prince's uncle, Zhen Zilong." The assassin gritted his teeth and said. The 2 princes and Marshal Yun were completely shocked. It was obvious that Yi Qinghan didn't torture the assassin. Marshal Yun, this matter involves the royal family. I can only ask you to uphold justice. Yi Qinghan bowed slightly and said, Uncle, you don't have to do this. I will do it myself. That damn Zhen Zilong is so daring. He actually sent assassins to attack in the sacred city. It's obvious that he doesn't care about the royal family at all, the fourth prince said angrily. How could the sixth prince allow the fourth prince to show goodwill? He hurriedly said, Sir was attacked, and this little prince was furious. This little prince wants me to take revenge for Sir. I'll go and capture the Zhen family's people and interrogate them to find out the truth. Then I'll have to trouble your highnesses, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. In order to express their goodwill, the two princes directly led the prefecture soldiers and mobilized the city guards to charge into the Zhen family's territory. They attacked in the middle of the night, and their actions were swift and decisive. It was difficult for the Zhen family to react. Inside the palace, imperial concubine Shui found out that Yi Qinghan had been attacked and that the ninth prince was behind it. She was so scared that she went limp on the spot. She could only hate Yi Qinghan for not fighting back. Get out of the palace quickly, I want to see Mr. Zhua. Her son had made a huge mistake, so she had to clean it up. Otherwise, that imperial edict would be invalidated. How could she be willing to lose the throne that was in her hands? Imperial concubine Shui anxiously rushed to the Zhua marshal's residence, but found that Yi Qinghan was not there. She could only wait in torment. In the prison, Yi Qinghan looked at the assassin and said indifferently, I want to replace hell and heaven. This is not nonsense, but a plan. If you help me, you will be the lord of hell in the future. If you don't help me, I will send you to hell. You have no choice. You madman! How can a civil official like you challenge the dignity of the Lord of Hell? Just kill me, I will never make an enemy of the Lord of Hell. The assassin was frightened and angry as he roared. Think about it again. If I want to find out the location of your family, I can still do it. After Yi Qinghan finished speaking, he waved his hand and left. When he reached the door, he said to the leader of the Imperial Guards, None of these people can die. Guard the exit strictly. Send 100 people to block these people for me. Don't let anyone come to rescue them. Also, don't let them commit suicide. Outside the prison, Marshal Yun still had not left. He seemed to be waiting for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan appeared behind Marshal Yun and asked indifferently, Why hasn't Marshal Yun gone back to rest? Sir, you're really something. I can't help but admire you. You've taken every step carefully. You're really going to kill the ninth prince's relatives, and you're even able to force the assassins to reveal who they are without torturing them. Now, I'm curious as to what your true purpose is. Marshal Yun looked directly at Yi Qinghan, wanting to see his true face. Yi Qinghan shrugged and said with a smile, Marshal Yun really thinks highly of me. No matter how much we overturn the heavens, there is still the realm lord above us. His Majesty is smart and can see all of this. That is why he allowed us to assist him. Otherwise, it would not be our turn to assist him. Marshal Yun could not help but nod. This was true. No matter how capable or crazy they were, they could not go against the realm lord's will. Oh, that's right. Marshal Yun, I was attacked by more than one wave of people today. A few women in the fragrance pavilion tried to make a move against me. Seeing that they failed, they tried to assassinate the prince and frame me. These people are extremely daring. After failing their mission, they directly took poison and committed suicide. I want to ask, do you know where these people came from? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. What?